Looking for a new playmat or some custom sleeves? You can support Magic Untapped in the process by clicking on the affiliate link for Inked Gaming in the description. Rise of the Eldrazi released on April 23, 2010, and is the 52nd expansion for Magic the Gathering. The set concludes the game's original Zendikar block in a manner much different than how things began. We'll get to that in a moment. As for the story of Rise of the Eldrazi, it can be found in the block's one and only novel, Zendikar, in the Teeth of Akum. You could say it's all found in the latter part of the book. If you're unfamiliar with the story, we have a complete summary for you in our Magic History Zendikar video right here on Magic Untapped. As for Rise of the Eldrazi itself, it had a design team headed by veteran designer Brian Tinsman and a development team that was led by former Magic the Gathering World Champion and Pro Tour winner Matt Place. Rise is a large set at 248 cards, which is one card fewer than Zendikar. Typically at the time, Wizards of the Coast employed a large, small block structure in terms of set size. This time around, they went unconventional with large, small, large instead.
It turns out large sets sell better than small sets. That there's more cards and people were excited and liked it. And Bill Rose, the VP of R&D, done the math and realized that he didn't feel we could do a large set every year in the spring because that would make too many cards in standard. But the numbers worked out that every other year, roughly every other year, we could do a second large set. That was the plan going into this block, is that Zendikar actually would only be 2 sets. So Bill's plan originally was brand new world, 3rd set, brand new world. Well, the creative team were like, whoa. It's hard making one world. We don't want to make another world. And so they had come up with this idea of these ancient evils. And so they said, well, what if something happens to the world that's so fundamental that it shifts everything and that you can have a mechanical reboot, but creatively we're still in the same world?
Which, in a nutshell, is how the Zendikar block came to have a 3rd set that wasn't just a large set, but, if we're being completely honest here, very different than the 2 that came before it. And that's all thanks to the release of an ancient evil known as the Eldrazi. And who, or what, are the Eldrazi, you might ask?
They were a cross between Cthulhu and Galactus. Cthulhu was a series of novels written by H.P. Lovecraft, and in it was a world in which there existed these ancient evils that were so alien and so foreign that just to glimpse them, to understand them, would drive a man insane. And the creatures, the Cthulhu and such, they were these ancient gods of before the beginning of time, or really ancient things that were from other dimensions, but they were almost unfathomable, and they couldn't be comprehended because they were so strange and alien. Galactus is a character from Marvel Comics. He is a being as old as the universe that eats planets. He's forever hungry, and he roams the galaxies finding planets to consume.
Essentially, the idea of the Eldrazi was of ancient creatures, so old in fact that they predate the concept of colors of magic. And these Eldrazi are unfathomable, but hungry, with a need to consume for consumption's sake.
They're causing havoc, because that's what they do. And 3 planeswalkers, Ugin, Sorin, and a 3rd one that we've never referred to by name, but only as the Lithomancer.
We now know that Lithomancer is Nahiri.
The 3 of them realize the Eldrazi are a problem, so they lure them to Zendikar. There's something about the nature of Zendikar, and they trap them inside Zendikar. And the lock of the prison, if you will, is the Eye of Ugin, who was in Worldwake.
Of course, as we know, and spoiler alert for those who are not aware of the original Zendikar story yet, the lock was weakened by Chandra, Jace, and Sarkhan Vol, thanks in part to the invisible hand of Nicol Bolas, of course. Then completely obliterated by Nissa, and the Eldrazi Titans, Kozilek, Ulamog, and Emrakul, made a run for it, much to the detriment of the plane and beyond. But getting back to the set Rise of the Eldrazi itself, despite taking place in the same location, and really the same time as Zendikar and Worldwake, features very little similarity to its 2 predecessors. In fact, the land-themed focus and various mechanics of the block's first 2 sets are all but non-existent in this new one. Instead, Rise of the Eldrazi has a focus on this new colorless Eldrazi creature type, as well as new concepts such as the ability to level up creatures through the new level up mechanic, as well as a new rebound mechanic, and a new line of aura enchantments known as totems. Level up, which is found on a number of creatures throughout the set, is a very RPG-type concept that lets players give such creatures they control a permanent benefit, well, permanent so long as a creature stays in play, in exchange for a certain investment of mana. Rebound is a mechanic designed to allow players to get more play value out of their instants and sorceries. When an instant or sorcery with Rebound is cast from one's hand, the card gets exiled upon resolution rather than being sent to the graveyard. Its controller can then cast it again for free at the beginning of their next upkeep if they so choose. Totem enchantments are auras that target creatures, providing them a boon while also protecting them at the same time. This is thanks to each totem enchantment having the rules text of, if enchanted permanent would be destroyed, instead remove all damage marked on it and destroy this aura. It's almost like having an aura as a bodyguard. The set also has a sub-theme of walls, or at least creatures with a defender ability, which walls have by default. The idea here is that they provide defense for players against smaller threats as they build up to bring out the big baddies of the set, the Eldrazi. As for those Eldrazi, the big hitters come complete with a big price tag, many costing upwards of 8 mana or more. Thankfully for Eldrazi players, there are mana-creating Eldrazi spawn token creatures that can help you ramp up to be able to actually cast something along the lines of the 12-drop It That Betrays, or, better yet, one of the 10 to 15 costed Titans themselves.
And we had cards that would make 2 or 3 of them at a time too, and they could really take you like from turns, 6 mana to 9 mana in one turn. Put out something giant, and then keep going.
Rise of the Eldrazi, for the purpose of Eldrazi-focused spells, also brought back the tribal subtype for the first time since the Lauren Shadowmoor Mega Block in the cards Not of This World, Skittering Invasion, Eldrazi Conscription, and All Is Dust. With the exception of the tribal artifact card Ultra the Goyf, found in 2021's Modern Horizons 2, the tribal subtype has not been seen since in blackboarded Magic. The set also introduced one other Eldrazi-specific thing, Annihilator, a new mechanic made to represent the Eldrazi's hunger.
So what Annihilator did is it was Annihilator N being a number was between 1 and 6, I believe, in Rise of the Eldrazi. When you attack, if you have Annihilator, your opponent, as an attack trigger, must sacrifice N permanents. So if I have Annihilator 1 and attack, every time I attack, you have to sacrifice a permanent. If I have Annihilator 5 or 4 or 6, whatever, Annihilator 6, you have to sacrifice 6 permanents. So, turned out Annihilator was really, really strong.
So strong, in fact, that Wizards of the Coast has yet to make another new card with the ability. Despite being a large set, Rise of the Eldrazi, surprisingly, only has a pair of cycles. Invokers, a common cycle of creatures that each have an activated ability costing 8 to use, such as Wildheart Invoker, granting a creature a temporary +5/+5 boon at the cost of 8 generic mana. And Rare Levelers, each of which have a level up cost of a number and 1 of that creature's respective color, such as the card Echo Mage, which bears an uncanny resemblance to the now disgraced rapper Kanye West in a WTF pose. Anyway, it costs 1 and a blue to level up, gaining additional toughness and abilities along the way. Beyond the set's 2 cycles, Rise of the Eldrazi boasts a good selection of notable and valuable cards, including Coral Helm Commander, a one-time staple in Merfolk decks, Eldrazi Conscription, which is not only the first purely colorless enchantment ever created for Magic the Gathering, it remains the only one, period. Eldrazi Temple, a must-include in Eldrazi Tron decks in Modern. Inatu Golem, an honestly underwhelming artifact creature, but holds the distinction of being a part of a rather unique series of cards, all of which are creatures that gain you life upon death, and are inspired by the OG Magic the Gathering card, Soulnet. And that would include Onulet from Antiquities, which was supposed to be the anagram of Soulnet, which was originally supposed to be Onulits, but the S had to be removed due to the artist only including one creature in the artwork. Anidit Lurker from Fifth Dawn, which is an anagram of Darker Onulet, and now Inatu Golem, which is an anagram of Mega Amulet. Gideon Jura, the first appearance of the popular Planeswalker character. Inquisition of Kozilek, which is considered to be amongst the game's top tier of discard spells, and is a frequent inclusion still today in Modern and Legacy. Colony Hydra, which, even now, bears the distinction of having the largest amount of mana symbols within its casting cost of any Magic card yet printed. Realms Uncharted, a card often seen in Commander, and has artwork that seems to take its cues from the Champions of Kamigawa card, Gifts Ungiven. Sarkhan the Mad, the second iteration of the Planeswalker Sarkhan Vol, and a card that is supposed to show Vol under the influence of Nicol Bolas' schemes. Splinter Twin, a powerful creature aura that was a key part of its deck namesake in Modern, until its power and prevalence proved too much for tournament play, leading to the card being banned in the format in 2016. Training Grounds, an enchantment that gives a good discount for your creature's activated abilities. And Vengevine, a creature card that can easily get out of hand thanks to its built-in recursion and haste. It's been fairly popular in the niche, yet formidable, Hollow One deck. Of course, we couldn't talk about Rise of the Eldrazi without putting a spotlight on each of the 3 Eldrazi Titans. Kozilek, Butcher of Truth, which is found in a number of EDH and Legacy decks, as well as the occasional deck in Modern. Ulamog, the Infinite Gyre, a good inclusion in certain EDH decks, not to mention some Modern Tron decks and 12-post in Legacy. And Emrakul, the Aeon's Torn, a card banned in Commander, and a key finisher in a number of Modern and Legacy decks, including Legacy Sneak and Show and Omnitel, as well as Modern Through the Breach, Tron, Creativity, and Calibrated Blast decks.
I'm super happy that we did those. We knew we wanted to have some big legendary monsters to represent the Eldrazi, but we ended up amping them up really high in terms of their abilities and how big they were and how powerful they were. It was just ridiculous. It was ridiculous at the time, and it was very, very memorable. If people remember the set for anything, they remember it, I think, for those 3 Eldrazi Titans. And they're still played, they're still sought after today. And seeing those stomp around in all the formats made people really pay attention to this set.
Speaking of Emrakul, the card, Emrakul the Aeon's Torn, also served as the set's pre-release promo, making it one of the best pre-release promo cards yet printed for the game. A foil, alternate art, Lord of Shatterskull Pass was given out as the set's launch party promo. Additionally, Rise of the Eldrazi's Buy a Box promo was a foil, alternate art, Gruul Draws Assassin, while participants in the set's Game Day event were all given a full art promotional Stagger Shock. Winners of the event also received a foil, full art Deathless Angel card. And those who visited Wizards of the Coast's booth during the PAX East convention that year were treated with Eldrazi Death Hug. It's a silly commemorative card promoting Rise of the Eldrazi's pre-release and launch party events. Finally, if, after all this, Rise of the Eldrazi seems a bit of an oddball set to you, well, Magic the Gathering's head designer would have to agree with you.
They made a crazy, wacky, strange set. And development, led by Matt Place, I was on the team, our job was to take the set that was this really crazy set and maintain the coolness of it and some of the insanity of it, but in a way that worked.
So did it work? Do you like Rise of the Eldrazi? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to Magic Untapped here on YouTube. Also, if you want to support Magic Untapped, please pop $1 in our tip jar on Patreon. Thank you for watching.